Campers, Georgia, back in the man cave, looking at something here. This thing, yeah, it's a camelus blade from 1969. I think we should put it on something and, you know, fix it up. Let's check it out. So the knife I'm talking about is, well, it's a camelus. It's an old camper, and it's bits and pieces. You may remember this one. I rebuilt another one a couple of videos ago, and the blade, the main blade on this guy, was a little beat up, but it was good enough for the other knife and to modify it, and it actually worked out pretty well. So I took this bad blade, put it on another one which replaced a total disaster blade, and fixed it up. Well, that left me with my favorite manufacturer's knife in bits. I had found this guy, which just happens to be a Camelus 1969 spear point blade in really good condition. Don't know where it came from, but it was in my box of bits. So I'm thinking we can add these two together. So we're halfway there through some of the nastiness of getting it apart. Now we just need to get it a little bit more apart. I'm going to leave it pinned here for now. If you look carefully, the pins on this thing stick way up, which means a bail. So I think I might just keep these pins, trim them down, clean them up, and it won't have a bail, but it'll have a new blade. We'll clean it up and make it all shiny. And to top it off, we'll put some ironwood handles on it. So here we have it here, and as you can see, it's pretty crusty. And here's the blade and the ironwood. I want to clean this up before we do anything else, and that means giving it a dip. But before I do that, I've got to take this pin out and this pin out so we can spread it out nicely. We're going to have to repin this anyway because the blade's going in here, and we have to repin it for that. Going to keep this pin in because we want to keep it together. The less pinning for me, the better. And while we do that, I'll start prepping this wood, cutting them to size. I'll make sure they're all measured and whatnot. Then once this is cleaned up, we'll wash it off, bring it back. And when you do it this way, although you don't have complete access to under this bolster, you do have on the others, and you can do so much more just with this than not taking it apart at all. So that's what we're going to do. Right. I need to make the measurements here. I'm going to make them a little longer than necessary, about 1 or 2 millimeters, and then slowly file them down until I get a nice snug fit. Now you've got to cut it up. I don't want to have to be filing away too much wood on the outsides. And then once we have that, we'll get this guy cleaned up, and then we'll put the handles on, and it's a process of slowly doing it. Then we'll form the handle to match the shape of the knife. So let me take those measurements quickly, mark them on here, and then we'll dip him. Bolster to bolster inside 67.5 millimeters. Is it the same both sides? Yeah, close enough. So I think I'm going to cut these off at 70. That gives me 2 mils to file it down and get a nice snug fit between these two. So we got that, and then I want to look at the handle width, and we're going to go with 20 because these are 18 at the widest point here. I'll cut these down and we'll have those ready. Let's dip this guy. Try to keep everything spread out so that you can get both sides. Got to take those pins out. When you do this, you want to support everything as much as you can. Just give the gap enough for the pin to go through. Don't need any more than that. Otherwise you start bending things. So if this doesn't move, which it did right away, if this doesn't move, you can cut that pin down and just punch it through. But like I said, make sure you have plenty of support. Nope. So this guy's ready to be dipped. And of course, when you take this middle pin out, the springs are now loose. Don't lose them. And when you... So this has been sitting in here for about an hour and a bit. I like to just rub it off with some Scotch-Brite before I go up and wash it off. It just helps get all the heavier stuff off. Just give it a little rub. Let it sit there for a little bit longer, a couple of minutes, and then I'll go up, wash it off with warm water, and then we come back down and get on with it. So here we are. Let's get everything cleaned up. I did trim these down, so they will be ready once the knife is cleaned up, I hope. So we've got the knife cleaned up. Let's start cleaning this stuff up. Did the yard work, ready to go. So this guy is in really good condition. I'm just gonna rub it quickly with 10,000 and let's see how it looks. If it looks good, we'll get on the rest. So here we go. It's gonna shine it up. I want to see if I can get rid of these scratches. Gonna go to 1,000. I want to try and reduce them more. The big advantage is you can get here and clean it up better than when it's together. You can see already the difference it makes. All right, let's get on to these guys here. Start taking care of these. Obviously the springs, you won't see the sides, but it's always nice to clean them up. They'll work smoother. The build-up of everything else. They don't need much, you just want to smooth them up a bit. And then of course they'll be seen here when you look in the well, so always a good idea to shine them up. The important bit is the spine. Everybody's gonna see that all the time. Oh, I didn't put my ventilation on, hold on. And of course, don't forget your mask. I don't do the 10,000 here because when I put it together, I'm going to go over it again with 10,000 when they're all together. So we've got this guy to do, and then we're on to that. Okay, so here we are, everything's been cleaned up and shined up to 1500 grit. So we'll do the 10,000 and mothers when we're all done. What we need to do now is put the knife together. The joy. My favorite part, pinning. So we need to set it up here. Let's make sure we know what we're doing. So you got your, I'm going to leave those out for now. Actually, let's do it this way. We'll build and slide. How's that? So I've found these nails in the shed somewhere, and they seem to be perfect for helping you get everything set up. So obviously this and the knife are on this side. So we're going to start at the bottom here, and with any camper you'll always find the blade and the awl are in the same slot. They open and close together. We got the awl there, we got to put the blade there. We need a spring. So let's do this. We've got to put a spring in and then the blade. And let's put, oh, I didn't punch out that. Oh no, I forgot. Let me take care of that quickly. I forgot to punch out the rest of the pin in the bolster. Sorry, hold on. Okay, just the tip of the pin was here because I had cut it off here. When you're doing that, sometimes these bolsters come off because they held on by this pin here and glued. But you can always put it back. So, where were we? We were working with things here. So how it goes together is we have the liner, which goes in here, and then we have the spring, which just sits here and is held in by that pin. Now, as you can see, it's at an angle like this, and that's because when you put this pin in and these are pinned, there's tension on the spring, so that's the last pin you put in. So now we have a blade and we need something else, and that goes with this guy here, so we know we're in the right spot. So then we have the middle liner, and then we have the other tools, which would be this guy, and right off the bat I made a mistake. The blade was in upside down. I had it this way, but that's the way that it closes, so we have to do that. And we lost our spring, which will keep falling out because it's not fixed in. But patience is a virtue. So then, now we've got that second liner splitting the two sets of tools, which means this guy goes there. And of course you need the spring. So we've got the blade in the correct position. Then you have the liner, and now you have your can opener. Okay, you probably saw I made a mistake. If you look at this, on the campers they always have a double liner on this side. You can see it there. I had put the blade in between the two liners, which was the wrong position. Now you can see, now we can put the springs in this side as soon as I get this nail into these guys. Man, I botched that, didn't I? That was ugly. Kept doing things wrong. Don't like it when I do that. Now we're correct. Now we can put the springs in, and they just sit on the top here like that. when I move the tools down, they'll drop in, allegedly. Just like that, and like that. Squeeze it all together, and you have your knife together. Now, this, the awl, always sits on the outside. Now, my concern was the nail nick for the main blade was on this side, but we still have access to it. You see that? So we're looking kind of sort of okay here, except it keeps falling apart because I'm not holding it properly. So there's the basics of the knife, not pinned yet, just being held together. So what we need to do is put a pin in here to hold them together, and then we squeeze everything and we can put a pin in there. One thing I like to do, although we're not pinning the springs, I like to hold the springs in there when I pin so that they're supported. They're supporting the liners and everything like that. It just gives it more support. I just tape them in so that they won't fall out. So we've got to get the pin for this. Don't forget, the middle one is actually a brass pin. These ones, nickel silver. Once you have your pin in, you want to make sure that the ends are nice and flat and clean, so that when you pin them down, they go down nice and smooth. The other thing you got to remember is how much to leave here. Now, typically, whatever the width of your pin, half of that is how much you should leave there. I leave a little bit more than that. I'm paranoid. The last time I did this, I had a problem with it being too tight. And somebody said, get yourself a feeler gauge. Well, I forgot. So what I'm going to do is put a very thin blade in here, razor. Here it is here, and it's actually an X-Acto blade. It came with an X-Acto knife I use when doing leather work, fine leather work, but it's a blade that I'll never use. It's also probably a little too thick, but it'll stop me going too far. Then I can take it out and just touch up until I have the tension I want. Just to give yourself a gap. Ideally, a feeler gauge would work so much better, but this will work for me now, he says. So you can see how much I've got there, and there's a little bit more on the other side. Not too concerned. I'm going to be tapping this side and making sure it's going to fill the hole. This will naturally, because it's resting and I'm tapping on it, squeeze down. If you have it too long, the pin will probably bend. So keep that as short as you possibly can without making it too short. Otherwise you'll have to pin it again because it won't get wide enough and hold it all together. Now you just want to go slow and steady. I have a really small peening hammer here, and I'm literally using the weight of it to tap down. I'm actually just dropping it on there, and you just want to swing it around a little bit. I know everybody says do this. I struggle with it because I'll end up hitting the bolster and things like that. I just feel more comfortable with the flat end. Maybe when it's almost there, use the pin, and you can just see I'm moving around on it. And if you look, it's starting to pin over. I've now got an edge on it. I'm just going to keep going. Remember, I have the pin up against the bolster on the other side, so it's a little bit further out here. I normally just get this one so I know it's big enough that it's not going to push through the hole. Then I switch over to the other side. See, that's not going to push through. I'm going to do it a little bit more because I want a little bit more spread on the head. Just because. If you have excess, you can get rid of it. If you have too little, you have too little. And I think I have a pretty healthy peen on there, so I'm going to just tap it down. It's not going to go through, and you can see what it looks like there. It's kind of rough. Now I'm going to put it on this side and repeat the same process on this guy, but he's a little long. Okay, and here we go. Same thing again. My blade kept slipping out, so I've just taped it to this blade so it won't move, allegedly. Okay, we still got a gap. You can see the gap, which we can fill later. Okay, we've got no play in the blades with the blade in there, that little extra blade. I'm going to stop here. Now what we need to do is we've got to make the handles work. We've got to put the handles on because we're going to pin through the handles, which is another problem. Not really. We just got to make sure everything lines up. So as you can see, I've taped it up so that I have access here. I didn't want the tape in the way when I'm measuring, like that. To get these onto there. Okay, what we have to do is very slowly we put this one on, and you file this down, check, file it down, check, until you get a nice firm stiff fit in there. Once we have that on both sides, drill through here. We'll have this one held on there. We'll tape it in. We'll drill through here to drill the hole for the pin, and then back this way for the other side. Tedious, very tedious, this getting these edges down, but you want them nice and tight in there. You don't want to land up with a gap. Because my skill set is not what it should be, you can see when I cut this, it's not straight. This side is. This is the side that originally was cut with when they sent it to me. So this is my reference side all the time. So I'm going to put it in there, make sure it's flush on there, and now I can look and see how much I have to play with. And this lower side here, the shorter side, I have about 1 millimeter. So I need to clean this off here. The way I normally do it is I'll just get a file like this. I can see just how bad it is, so I'm going to just file that down so that it looks a little square. A good way to do it is to use a square. I have a little speed square here, so I could do what I could do. This is my good side, but I know I don't want to go any further than this shortest edge. I could put that on my speed square and mark it with a pen. And now I've got at least a guide. I don't want to go any further than that. So now I can work it down very slowly where I need to. And we're getting close. Now I want to start checking because I'm pretty close here. And you can see, let me bring this a better position for you. I want it to fit in there really tight. My reference side, make sure it's flush. And now I'm looking here. I've got a little bit to go. Well, kind of. I never throw this dust away. I always keep it in case I land up with a gap or a chip. You can use it to make magic dust and fill it in. Okay, we're getting close. We're almost there. Reference. flush. Okay, I'm really close right now. It's just going to take a couple of swipes. By the way, if you want to keep it level, do it this way. If you do it this way, you tend to rock. So, but you have to be careful you don't chip. Patience, persistence. And there we are. Okay. Whew. We're very tight, but a little bit more, but you can see it's stuck in there now. So I'm just going to touch it up a little bit more. Then I'm going to put this in, glue it on, and then we're going to drill through there to get the pin position, and then do the same thing on the other side. So now I want to make sure that I've got plenty of room on both sides to clean up and shape to the rest of the knife. Finally, I'm happy. It's nice and flush. One thing you have to be careful is that you're not bending the knife by pushing that handle in. Believe it or not, you can actually flex it. You don't want to do that. You want it just to slide in there snug. So I'm going to get some JB Weld, put it on here, and then clamp it, let it set. Then we'll flip this guy over and drill straight down through there with the Dremel press. Hit the mark so that we have where the pin goes in, and then we'll be good to go. So I put clamps on here just to hold it flat and flush so that there's no gaps on the liners. But you want to be careful, you don't want to squeeze it too much and bend the liners. So you just want to make sure it's flush and just let it sit there. I'm going to let it sit for about at least an hour. Okay, it's been sitting for about an hour or so. So now I want to drill through there and through the wood so we can put the pin through. We'll put the other side on and drill through the same hole. That's the plan. Let's see if we can do it. I've got to get this lined up. And I need my safety glasses. We've got them both glued on, I hope, and drilled through. Now we got to get a pin in there, but we can't really pin because we have to squeeze down on the springs. Well, the handle is higher than the level the springs go. So we need to start shaping this down at least until we get to the liners here. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm just going to file these down as close as I can. And then I'll have to pull the springs because I'm using them to support this right now. Okay, so I'm actually starting to touch the springs. So now I've got to take them out and get it as close to the liners as I can. Don't really want to damage the liners, so I forgot there's this thing called the record button. Anywho, here we are. Glued it on, got the pin in, just prepping it. We got to pin this in and then shape the handle. And you can see here, that's where we are now. Using that blade is a great idea. You can't over tighten it. Now you just need to make little adjustments, so works great. So what we're going to do is we're going to pin this tight because there's a little gap there, but that'll pull it in. We're going to clean this off, make sure it's good, shape the handles, and then clean up everything and give it a good shine. So this is brass, it's going to peen over pretty easily. So I'm just going to use the weight of the hammer. Again, tap it in, let it form, get big enough, then the hole, push it through, trim the other side off, and repeat. So now I've got a nice big head. I'm going to push it down. And you see it covers the hole nicely. Going to trim this guy down, flatten him off, and do the same thing. One thing you got to remember, if you do it too tight, you're going to be careful. The pin is spreading. You want to make sure you don't do too much because you'll crack the cover. And with wood, even careful. So now I'm going to start shaping the handles. And I'm going to trim these down. This should have a bail, but I'm going to take it off, trim them down, and just tighten them up. You can see there's a little gap at this end, but you've got to be careful you don't make that gap too tight. When I was looking at it, I was like, oh no, the awl is below the handles. Well, actually, it's not. The wood's a little high, but if you look on this side, the actual liner has a dip in it right there, and that just happens to be so that you can pull the awl up. It does have that edge all the way along that doesn't have a nail neck. It just, the way it's shaped allows you to pull it out. So panic over. You can see what I'm talking about there. There's the dip on the liner. Well, that's my theory anyway. When you're doing wood like this, you want to just edge these off so that when you're filing, you don't pull a chip off. Here I'm getting really close to the liners, so a less aggressive file, plus I want to start filing out that divot. Okay, I'm pretty close there. Now I don't want to go any further with the file. We're going to be using heavy grit sandpaper to initially shape the handle, so we can use that to clean that up. So here you can see what I was talking about. If you look at the awl, it has that ledge there. It's basically a nail neck, a long nail neck. And when you close it now, it's below this, but you have access to pull it out because of that divot. I put a little bit of oil here on the bolsters. I want to see if they loosen up. This spring here on this side, man, I can see that. It's It's really tight. But I'm just going to let the oil set, seep in there, and then we'll start on the handles. Snip those off. I'm just going to file them a little flat, and then we're going to clean them up. I think what I'm going to do is go outside. It's nice and cool this evening, and just start shaping all this with some heavy grit sandpaper. So Mary and I are going to sit outside here this evening. It's very nice and cool, little breeze going. I've got my coffee. Cheers. 180 grit sandpaper. And what I'm going to start doing is start shaping it. Now you'll notice this one is thicker than that one. So we're going to have to work on that to get them the same size. They've all got to match, obviously, the bolsters. So there's that. So I'm just going to work on it, start rounding stuff off, and start shaping just a very normal cigar shape type thing, maybe a little thicker in the middle and coming down to the bolster. You can see here I'm using 180 and just a little bit of rubbing, and I'm already getting a nice edge, smooth edge, rounded, coming up already. So this stuff really goes through it. I normally use 180 to start with and then work up, and I just go back and forth, up and down, and slowly round it off, trying to get it lined up so that there's no edge between the wood and the bolster, so that they're the same height on both sides. And then already I've got a slight curve for this whole cigar thing. It just takes a little bit of help. And if you're wondering, the blade is not sharp. I did check. Normally I would tape these up. I don't think it's necessary. They're not sharp at all. So I can hold them. And here you can see that divot that I was talking about. And when you close this guy, you can see my broken nail, and you can get your nail in there and pull it out, because you have that long, almost complete nail neck all the way across. So that'll be that. Now we're looking at higher grain sandpaper. We'll go through the paces with that, and then we'll have to clean it all off. Of course, I'd put oil in here, and now I have a mess. Unacceptable. So I'm going to dip it again. Well, not dip it, but I'm going to get some warm water and just borrow Mary's toothbrush and get that all this build-up out so we can clean it up really nice. Go over this with the 1000 and 10,000, get everything shiny, and then we'll touch up the blades with mothers. And that was that. Well, that's what happens when you're not paying attention. I'd put the knife in the vise with the blade because I wanted to clean out some of the dirt buildup in here with the toothbrush. I received a phone call, took care of it, came back and wanted to go and get the toothbrush and walked past the vise. The knife was sticking out. I caught it with my hip. Here we are. What's left of it. And that, campers, sums up the last 2 weeks for me right there. What do you do? Well, there's nothing you can do. So what do? Is you move on. So I'm going to go and fish for a little bit because I need to get my mind off this. Sorry, but lesson learned for me and hopefully for you guys. 3 days and that result. I just finished cleaning up the bolsters here, bringing these down, getting ready to go to 10,000 and polish and sharpen. Well, that's out of the window, folks, so what can I say? You will be safe out there. Fortunately, I had the blade in the vise. It could have been the other way around. Just saying. Thanks for watching. As most of you know, on my channel, good or bad, you get to see it. Thanks for watching. Always appreciated. Pretty sure I'll be back. There's lots of other projects that, who knows, I might actually finish. See you again soon.